Hi, Dick Smith here. I'm really concerned. This is the story of a highly secretive German company that's going to drain enormous wealth out of our country, while at the same time changing the very openness that our forefathers went to war to protect. Now, the previous video has had over 3 million hits. Imagine that, absolutely fantastic. Please send this video to everyone. It's absolutely important as many people see it as possible for the very future of our country. Now, we all love low prices, but not so low that more and more of our young people can never have a proper full-time career, or our farmers are forced into bankruptcy. We used to be known as the land of the fair go, but that seems to be changing. Our most successful retailer was once Australian-owned, but no longer. It's now the German-owned Aldi. Now, not many people realise that with these online booking sites, so much money was being shipped overseas. Well, it's the same with Aldi. Aldi are owned by two ultra-secretive Germans, Karl Albrecht Jr. and Peter Heister. They're worth, wait for it, over 40 billion Australian dollars, and they're not even known as philanthropists. Now, Aldi are not only known as our most successful food retailer at the moment, but they're also known as being the lowest cost food retailer, but being the most profitable. Now, hold on, how can you be the most profitable and the lowest cost? Well, Aldi are incredibly astute. Basically, it's about sharing the wealth less. When our typical Australian-owned companies have about 8% of the dollar you spend is spent on employing Australians, with Aldi it's less than 4%. In effect, they've worked out a way of sacking Australians or not putting them on in the first place, so more money can be made by the owners, and of course they can discount the food a bit. Of course, it's also well known they're ruthless in buying food. Aldi started off buying here, but I notice more and more they're abandoning our Australian farmers and producers. They have no loyalty to Australia. For example, their peanut butter, it comes from South America, where farmers are paid subsistence wages, and once again we lose out. What worries me about Aldi is that they're completely at odds with our Aussie free enterprise system, with our traditional openness. Key the name of the Aldi owners, Karl Albrecht Jr. and Peter Heister, into Google, and you'll see they're noted as being obsessively secretive. Wow, and they've never ever done an interview with the media about what vision they have for Australia. How many more shops are they going to open? How many people are they going to sack? No, you won't find anything about that at all. I wrote the owners this letter, by the way, it's on the Dick Smith Fair Go website. You can have a look at it, asking what are their plans for Australia. Of course, they didn't answer. No, it appears they don't do that. Imagine your $40 billion, you can have an enormous effect on Australian citizens, mums and dads, people who can't get jobs, young kids who want a job, a career to start, and they don't even answer a simple letter from Dick Smith. Yes, I suppose they say, ha ha, we're worth $40 billion. We don't answer people from Australia. Now, Aldi has an Australian managing director, Tom Daunt. He's a good bloke, but understand if he said one word that was out of line with the German billionaire groupthink, he would be sacked instantly. That's how these ruthless companies work. Aldi sent out press releases explaining how they're employing 12,000 Australians. But if Aldi are employing 12,000 Australians, that means another 12,000 have lost their jobs. Because it's quite simple. We're not eating more food because Aldi are here. It's the same amount. But every dollar spent, if Aldi have half as many employees, that's mean 50% of the people have lost their jobs or they haven't been employed in the first place. Here's the most amazing thing. Aldi have recently become our most trusted brand. Now imagine that. They're above Qantas. Wow. And they do this by being secretive. I mean, that's a message to every wealthy business person. Don't talk to the media. Don't use the Australian tradition of openness. When I was younger, all of the wealthy people were open with the media. We had Sir Vincent Fairfax. He came and opened my Scout Hall. Drove himself, came in his Rolls Royce, but imagine that. Then the Meyer family, all of these wonderful Australians. Well, if the message gets out, you can be highly secretive. There's going to be more and more of our wealthy business owners making no public statements at all and showing no leadership as they follow the Aldi formula. But they're getting away with it because not only are they most profitable, lowest cost, and now the most trusted brand. Now, is that going to affect us? Well, of course it is, because it's going to take business off the Australian companies, which means less staff, in effect, are going to be working there. More to the point, our Aussie supermarkets being on the stock exchange, first of all, once a year they have to appear and answer questions from shareholders and from the public. That's our Australian system. And also, the money stays here in Australia. There are so many super funds which are invested in our Australian supermarkets. Of course, as Aldi take over, with their extreme greed, I mean, imagine you're worth 40 billion and you want even more money? And you won't even talk about it. Remember, Aldi hasn't come to Australia as a charity to help us. It's primarily about sucking wealth out of our country. So when you go to Aldi and buy something dirt cheap, it could be at the expense of another Australian losing their job. There's a famous word called noblesse oblige, which means if you're the nobility, if you're the wealthy and powerful, you have an obligation to show leadership. Well, come on, Aldi owners. You're the son and the daughter of the founder. You didn't even create the business in the first place. Come to Australia. Why don't you make a decision to float some of your company here so at least we can share in the wealth? Now let's put some pressure on Aldi to do the right thing. Of course, many Aussie workers are forced to go to Aldi for the low prices. That's because we have 5 million Australian workers who live pay packet to pay packet with no savings at all. Of course, one of the reasons for that is the vast amounts of money which are shipped out of this country instead of being shared here. But lots of my wealthy friends go to Aldi. Imagine that. The first chief executive for Aldi here said to me, "Oh, Dick, of course the wealthy come to us. They're smarter than the poor." Well, I don't agree. So what I'm going to ask is let's have a protest. If you can afford it, never buy from Aldi again until the owners come to Australia and tell us what their plans are. Perhaps they could float on the stock exchange and let us share in some of the wealth. Perhaps they could employ a few more Australians per dollar turnover. In the meantime, stick with the Aussie-owned companies, employing lots of people, and the profits stay here. Now, what would be the use of our protest of not buying from them? Well, I have a feeling, just as they haven't answered my letter, my pleading, what are you going to do in Australia? How many Australians are you going to sack? I have a feeling that once they see the turnover, even if it dropped by 0.1%, you're going to find they're going to go berserk back in there in Germany. What? Why is the turnover going down? It's always gone up everywhere in the world. We're taking over the world. How can the turnover in Australia going down? How come the profits from Australia are going down? We've only got $40 billion. And I think then you'll suddenly find they might look at our letter. And it wouldn't be great. I have a feeling the Aldi owners are probably really decent people, but they've got these Rasputin-like creatures around them advising them, oh, never answer Dick Smith, never talk to the Australians, never do a press interview. Now that's outrageous. Capitalism depends on trust and ethics, and you have to be open about it. So there you have it. The wealth that should be used to pay decent wages and employ lots of Australians is shipped overseas to obsessively secret German billionaires. Now, it's not as if running a grocer's shop is rocket science. Surely we can do that. Thanks for watching, and please send this video to everyone. You mightn't see much about it in the major media because of the huge Aldi advertising dollar, but if we send it around, we can have an effect. Good on you. Thank you.